What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Coffee. Today, I'm going to be showing off one of my favorite decks of the format. Matter of fact, I've taken this deck to 2 consecutive regionals, and in both of them, I had a lot of success. We wound up taking 6th place in our first regional, and in the second one, we tied with 8th place. Wound up getting 10th, which is a little unfortunate. If the guy I lost to wound up winning, then I would have squeezed in at 8th myself. So really, I don't count it as a top, but we did get top 10. That is an invite, which is pretty cool. But regardless, I still think this deck list is really insane, and I keep making small adjustments as every week goes by. Nationals is just around the corner, and I know I'm going to want to play something similar to this if I can. The engines in this deck are insane. But first, before I show you why this deck is so insane, please go grab yourself a cup of coffee or something. That way you guys can sit down and tune in. Let's do this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the exact deck list I played when I got 6th place 2 weeks ago, and then I'll show you guys the list I brought last weekend, which is a couple cards different, and then that way you guys can see what's kind of been going on in my head when I've been changing it week to week. Starting off with the first engine, of course, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Emergency Teleport for our Punk engine. This card is super free and super insane, whether it's getting just free bodies for links or synchros, or going full combo with the Punk engine and milling 5 cards, getting your Halka-Fibrax online and scythe locking your opponent. This card is pretty dang crazy. Since I love Teleport so much, I actually decided to play 3 copies of Foxy Tune to go alongside it. This is basically another teleport. Obviously, it's not full combo by itself, but it is a free tuner on the field that will get you more cards to hand, setting up lights and darks all at once. And of course, if you open another Punk monster alongside it, then that's full combo even without the emergency teleport. And you don't even need your normal summon. For the Punk we're bringing out, of course, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Zayaman. We play the Adventure package, so we really don't want to draw this card. It is an amazing target for teleport, and in the late game there were some times where it would have been nice to have another, but we do play another Psychic monster to make it to where teleports aren't completely dead in the late game. After the Yaman, of course, we're playing the Deer Note, the heart and soul of the combo. There were some times that a second would have been nice in the grind game as well, just being your level 5 monster that you can use to synchro or link climb. It's very free, and the fact that you get to recur bodies in the process makes for a very insane card. For the last Punk monster, we are playing the 1 Ogre Dance. I actually think this is very necessary for the deck. You could get away with not running it, but the fact that it's a dark makes it to where getting your Chaos Ruler live is that much easier. And in addition, if you only open Foxy Tune, it makes it to where you can bring out Zayaman, add the Ogre, and then pitch Ogre to add the Almond, and then now you can normal summon that second Almond to go straight into Halka-Fibrax. So while it's not the most optimal thing, it makes it to where Foxy Tune by itself is still okay to open. That's it for the Punk stuff. Nothing too crazy. A solid 10 cards. Gotta love the engine. But probably the best engine alongside it has to be the Adventure package. No Therions in this list, but I will say the Adventure package by itself right now addresses so many problems in the meta today, so I felt like regardless of whatever deck I decide to fall back on, I just felt I had to have the Adventure cards in my deck in some capacity. So like I said, we have the 1 Griffin Rider. There were times 2 would have been nice, but backed up by that, we have the 3 Water Enchantress and the 3 Rites of Aramasir. Obviously, this is very staple stuff, especially when you add the Adventurer to the pile. No need to really explain this stuff. We also have the Draco back, which is really great for routing all the problematic cards in the meta, especially Mystic Mine. And speaking of Mystic Mine, there are a lot of times going first, I would hold on to the Draco back if I absolutely could. Some hands actually require you to discard it for all your plays, getting getting it in circulation. But if ever there was an opportunity where I could hold it, then that means game 1 going into things blind. If my opponent was on a mine deck, I know I didn't just waste my 1 mine out in the deck. For the last pseudo adventure card, I guess it's the Foolish Burial. Of course, gets the Enchantress, which is really amazing. And of course, it's just a very versatile card in the deck by itself. So, you know, why not? Might as well play it. For some of the Synchro toolbox stuff in the deck, of course, first things first, we're going to be playing the Red Rose package. Of course, 1 Red Rose, 1 Rocks Rose, and 1 Basil Shoot. This sets up all the craziest boards, whether it's going Baron, Hulk, Dagda, or even being able to go Baron, Hot Red, Arclight, Halqifibrax, Dagda. The deck can do some really crazy things, but I will say one of my favorite things to do in the deck is to hold on to the Rose Shoot. That way, when you make your Hot Red, you have a quick play spell card you can chain in response to something like Dark Ruler or Droplet. That way, your Hot Red can now target that card to negate it and protect your board. For some of the other tech cards, of course, the Jet Synchron, this card is really insane. It also makes it to where when you're getting a bunch of hand traps thrown at you, if you could at least resolve Hulk, then you know you got your Scythe Lock. We got the 1 Fairy Tale Snow. I will say in both regionals over the last 2 weekends, this card was in my graveyard 90% of the time because you just dump it in your graveyard every combo you get the chance to. So in my eyes, of all the decks to abuse this card, I really feel like this deck right now is the best one to use Fairy Tale Snow. After the Snow, we have the Scythe, which I just mentioned for the lock. And one package that I really enjoyed this tournament was the Magician's Souls package. Obviously, when paired with the Adventure package, it makes for insane draw power, but the fact that it's a free extender for Synchro climbing or Link climbing makes it to where this is one of the best cards in your deck, especially hitting off of Chaos Ruler, because again, whether it's the Ritual or the Monster, you just add it to hand and then dump another one from deck, and then that way you get to throw it on the field, draw some cards, and then start climbing from there. And plus, it's the best way to set up your Arclight, which again, when you use its effect to negate something, can now search a second copy from deck to hand for follow-up. So that's it for the toolbox stuff that goes alongside all the packages. Really insane, and really this deck is just so fun to play. After that, it was just a good amount of hand traps. I played 11 in the first regional. First, I played 2 copies of Nibiru. I think this hand trap is really good right now, even though there's some matchups it's bad against. The reason I opted to play 2 is because even if I drew 1 against a bad matchup, we typically have to discard a lot of cards in our combos anyway, so I really wouldn't mind having to discard this if we absolutely had to. But if I played 3, then the odds of seeing 2 in the opening hand does go up, and if I had 2 in the wrong matchup, that could be a little awkward. After that, we have 3 Ash Blossom, obviously the best hand trap in the game right now, followed by 3 copies of Effect Veiler, which in my opinion is actually a deck staple. It is a level 1 tuner, it's a light, it's a spellcaster, it does so much for the deck, and in my eyes, like I said, Effect Veiler, key staple card for this adventure deck. For the last hand trap, I opted to play 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma. This was actually my favorite hand trap of the day. Alongside it, of course, we had the 1 Driver, and this package not only acted like a Called by the Grave for the deck, but going second, obviously, it is one of the strongest hand traps in the game, almost acting like a pseudo Ashen sometimes as well. I had so many times my opponent would summon Xiamen, and I would Veiler or Ash it, and then they thought that they were free to activate the Foxy they already opened in hand just to get hit with Gamma. It was pretty crazy, and from there, well, any 2 hand traps typically can stop most decks. Also, I just want to mention that there is a lot of ways to bait stuff like Ash Blossom and Droll Unlock in your deck without putting cards on the field, and it feels so good to be able to bait those cards and then resolve Gamma on your own turn, giving you access to a free Thought Ruler or a free Hulk. When you resolve this on your turn, it feels so good. It's so hard to lose at that point. So that's it for the deck list I ran in the first regional, 43 cards. I did cut it down to 42, which we will go over in a sec. Hopping over to the extra deck though, it's nothing too fancy, but one thing people were asking me is why I did not play the Sangan package, and I really like that package and what it offers for the deck, but it does clog up some of the extra deck space, and the thing I love most about this deck is the utility it does have in the extra deck, and I would hate to sacrifice 2 slots just for that Sangan package. So starting things off with the Link one, of course we have the 1 Link Karibo. This could be the Anima, and Anima never came up for me, but Link Karibo did for the fact that I could turn Veiler into a dark monster in the late game. All I had to do was normal the Veiler, tribute it off, bring back the Karibo, and then I can go into dark and then go full combo into access code from there. It's kind of a niche scenario, but I still haven't figured out which one is correct. But all in all, Link Karibo, pretty solid card, and I did use it to, you know, stop some attacks as well. Of course, we have the 1 Halqifibrax for all your combos, alongside the Dagda to basically skip your opponent's turn. We have the 1 Dark, the 1 Unicorn, and the 1 Selene. All great utility cards to help you climb into your access code talker. For the synchros, we have the Arclight, which I did mention earlier. This helps you play around droplets. Also, it's just really good against most decks right now anyway. We got the Wonder Magician for the Scythe lock. We have the Riser. Like I said, we get snow 90% of the time, and this is how you do it. On the games that you do open it, you can also dump an Enchantress for the follow-up, so that's pretty insane as well. And there's even times I'll leave it on the field, that way it can synchro on my opponent's turn as well. This card is really insane, and there are times where I could have seen myself making a second copy, so maybe this is the reason Konami wanted to put it at 1, but I don't know. I think 1 Riser still at the end of the day would be all I play. We got the 1 Chaos Ruler, obviously for milling everything and setting up our Hulk plays. We got the 1 Hot Red for playing around Dark Ruler. We got the 1 Baron, our best Omni Negate. Most of the time you'll make this first turn, and if you have a line that doesn't, then once you Scythe lock them, you're going to use the Wonder Magician to sync with Hulk anyway and make the Baron after. So regardless, in some form, you're going to get Baron on the field, which is pretty crazy. After that, I did play 1 of the Shang Ying in our first regional we played at, and this card in theory is really good, but it never came up for me in the first regional. I will go ahead and say I did cut this card in the second regional, which was pretty sad because in the second regional it would have came up like 3 or 4 times for me. But you know, it is what it is. It's just RNG and how the game's played out, so you really can't predict those kind of things. And for the last synchro on the deck, we had the 1 Psychic and Punisher. Both regionals, this card was insane, and both regionals, I summoned this card, entered battle, gained the attack points, time was called in the round, and I punched for game. Very, very clutch card that stole so many games. For the first regional, my side deck was pretty simple, first being 3 copies of Token Collector, just for any adventure deck, and of course Sword Soul. I had the 1 Necroworld Banshee alongside the 1 Zombie World. I thought 1 and 1 was fine, but I will say in the second regional, there was a time I milled both off of the Chaos Ruler, which was really sad because if I did have the Zombie World in deck, well, then I would have auto-won in that scenario, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe we fit a second going forward. We got 3 Dark Ruler No More. This is just one of my favorite board breakers, at least right now. Droplets is nowhere in the main or side. I really didn't feel like I needed it, but I definitely could see myself trying to squeeze it in. But I will say there was never a moment where I really needed Droplet to be the top card of my deck. After that, just some back row stuff. We got the 3 Twin Twisters, very great. Sometimes I'd side in 1 against any Mind deck, and there were times that I did that and I would open it, which was, you know, pretty sad, but it is what it is. We got the 1 Red Reboot for any trap deck. Pretty good card, pretty dang staple. And the best card in the side deck all day for all the regionals, 3 Anti-Spell Fragrance. This card alongside your ending board is probably the best board that most decks can put out right now, and in my opinion, it addresses so many problem cards in the meta today, whether it's Dark Ruler or forcing out droplets or you name it, this card is insane. Now, hopping into some of the changes, like I mentioned, I did cut the deck down to 42. For the second regional, I really wanted to add a copy of Token Collector into the main deck just because I figured there would be so much adventure decks and, of course, Sword Soul running around. Thought it would be nice to have at least access to one at any time in my deck. So in the end, I just cut 1 Souls and 1 Illusion. That way I can make it 41, and then by adding the Collector, it made it 42, and it also freed up a card in the side deck as well. And in the end, it made the deck just as consistent. But I will say I did miss seeing this card more often, and there was a game that I opened both copies, and yeah, it was a little unfortunate because if I had more in the deck, well, I probably would have won that game. So simple changes, nothing too crazy, made the deck 42, added the Token Collector, but like I mentioned, in the extra deck, I did cut the 1 Shang Ying, and to replace it, I added the 1 Line of the Light Charmer. I will say the Shang Ying was very missed, but Light Charmer was used all day. This card was great, and like I said, just different ways to climb into access code, so many ways to abuse it, and I really don't know if I could cut this card going forward. Again, for the second regional, we really didn't make that much of a difference as far as changes goes, but like I said, we did move the Token Collector to the main, so we had 1 more card in the side deck to work with. So in the end, I just added the 3rd copy of Nibiru. That way I had another going second hand trap that would address basically all the matchups I would have put the Collector in as well with. Hindsight's 2020, it probably should have been the second Zombie World, but, you know, it is what it is, and going forward, I can't wait to tinker with this deck even more. This is personally one of my favorite decks of this format, and it really is insane. So that's all the time I have today. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck list and all the little changes I made going into the next tournament. Almost got 2 mats in a row, little bummed it didn't work out in my favor, but back-to-back invites, I guess, technically is pretty cool, but I look forward to the next events, and I look forward to Nationals. Very excited to see how well I can do. Let me know down below if there's anything you guys have been trying out as well, and hopefully I can see you guys at Nationals as well. Here's hoping to see you guys next time. Peace.